What if the world doesn't end with fire, but with a reset so subtle that most people won't even notice it happened until everything has already changed? What if history itself follows a pattern, and that pattern has appeared before every major collapse, every empire shift, every global transformation? Because when you study the past carefully, you begin to see something disturbing. Civilizations don't fall suddenly. They shift, quietly, predictably. And the signs always come first. Right now, across the world, we are watching rapid technological expansion, rising political tension, economic instability, social fragmentation, and increasing uncertainty about the future. None of this proves a prophecy is unfolding, but it does raise a serious question. Are we witnessing random chaos, or a familiar pattern repeating itself on a global scale? Throughout history, moments of massive transition have always been preceded by specific warning signs, and ancient texts, including the Bible, describe similar patterns before what many call a reset of the age. In the book of Matthew, Jesus speaks about wars and rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, famines, earthquakes in various places, and an increase in deception. These passages are not presented as a date prediction. They are presented as signals, patterns, indicators of transition. The language is simple. It describes instability, confusion, and global disturbance. Not the end of the planet, but the end of an era. In the book of Daniel, we read about knowledge increasing rapidly in the final times. That phrase stands out today more than ever. For most of human history, knowledge moved slowly. Generations lived and died without major technological shifts. But in the last century, especially the last few decades, information has exploded. Communication is instant. Artificial intelligence is advancing. Systems are interconnected globally. Knowledge is no longer local. It is exponential. And that acceleration changes everything. The book of Revelation describes symbols rather than headlines, beasts representing political systems, a mark representing economic control, a global structure where participation is tied to compliance. These images are not written in modern language, but the themes are clear. Centralized power, economic integration, surveillance-like structures, and global alignment. When read carefully, the text does not describe random destruction. It describes a transformation of global systems. Now look at the modern world. Financial systems are becoming increasingly digital. Identity is becoming more connected to online verification. Transactions are tracked. Data flows across borders instantly. Governments discuss digital currencies. Corporations manage vast information networks. Artificial intelligence influences decisions. None of this is automatically prophetic, but the pattern is undeniable. Systems are becoming unified, integrated, and dependent on technology. History shows that when systems become overly centralized, they become fragile. The Roman Empire expanded beyond its stability. Economic pressures, political division, and moral decline contributed to its transformation. The fall of Rome was not sudden chaos. It was gradual structural weakening. And many historians agree that internal instability preceded external collapse. Empires don't usually collapse from outside pressure alone. They weaken from within first. Biblical prophecy often connects moral conditions with societal outcomes. In the letters of Paul, there is mention of times marked by self-centeredness, pride, lack of restraint, and increasing coldness in human relationships. When societies shift from community to isolation, from truth to manipulation, from accountability to relativism, instability grows. Again, this is not about blaming individuals. It is about observing trends, and trends shape civilizations. Another repeated sign in prophetic literature is deception. Not just conflict, but confusion. When truth becomes difficult to define, trust begins to break down. When institutions lose credibility, unity weakens. When people no longer agree on basic reality, cooperation declines. In the modern age of deepfakes, misinformation, algorithm-driven content, and global narratives competing for dominance, deception is no longer limited to rumor. It can now be manufactured at scale. This matters because every historical reset begins with instability of trust. When people stop trusting systems, leaders, currencies, and each other, change becomes inevitable. Sometimes that change is constructive. Sometimes it is destructive. But it always follows the same sequence: tension, fragmentation, restructuring. The Bible also describes sudden shifts that come like a thief in the night. That metaphor suggests surprise, not prediction of date, but unpredictability of timing. The message is clear. Transitions can appear gradual, but their climax can be rapid. A system can seem stable for years, and then shift quickly when conditions align. We have seen this in revolutions, financial crashes, and technological disruptions. Now consider how globally interconnected the world is today. Supply chains cross continents, energy grids depend on cooperation, digital networks link financial institutions. One disruption can ripple across nations within hours. The more connected a system becomes, the faster change can spread. This is not prophecy, it is physics and systems theory. But it mirrors the prophetic theme of global interdependence before transformation. There is another detail often overlooked. Biblical prophecy speaks not only of destruction, but of preparation. Warnings are given before major transitions. Noah received instructions before the flood. Joseph interpreted dreams before famine. The message throughout Scripture is consistent. Awareness comes before judgment or change. Signals appear. Those who observe them carefully are not surprised. So what if the signs are not meant to create fear, but awareness? What if the purpose of prophecy is not to predict doom, but to reveal patterns so humanity can respond wisely? Because every reset in history has contained both risk and opportunity. The fall of one system often leads to the rise of another. The revelation hidden in plain sight is this: the signs described in ancient texts are not isolated events. They are interconnected conditions: increased knowledge, global alignment, moral tension, deception, instability, economic restructuring, technological acceleration. When these factors combine, societies enter a transition phase, and transition phases always feel uncertain. We are living in an era where change is no longer slow, it is exponential. Technology evolves in months, not decades. Cultural movements spread in hours. Financial markets react instantly. Information reshapes public opinion in real time. This speed itself is a sign of transformation. Not necessarily the end, but a shift in how the world operates. So the real question is not whether something dramatic will happen tomorrow. The real question is whether we recognize the pattern forming around us. History teaches that ignoring early signals leads to shock later, but studying signals allows preparation, and preparation reduces fear. When empires reset, power structures change. When economies reset, currencies transform. When technologies reset, human behavior adapts. And when worldviews reset, entire generations think differently than the ones before them. A world reset does not always mean destruction. Sometimes it means replacement of systems that no longer function effectively. The ancient texts describe a future where a global system rises, where deception increases, where instability grows, and where transformation reaches a climax before a new order emerges. Whether interpreted literally, symbolically, or historically, the underlying pattern remains consistent. Transition follows tension. This is not a call to panic. It is a call to awareness, because history rewards those who observe patterns early. Every generation believes it is unique, yet the cycles repeat. Conflict, innovation, expansion, instability, restructuring. Humanity has walked this pattern many times. If we are approaching another global transition, the question becomes personal. How do we respond? With fear or with clarity? With division or with understanding? With denial or with awareness? The signs described in ancient prophecy may not be countdown clocks. They may be indicators of system-level change. And system-level change always begins quietly before becoming visible to everyone. So watch the patterns, study history, observe technology. Pay attention to global alignment. Notice the acceleration. Because when multiple signs converge, it means a phase shift may be underway. Not the end of the world, but the end of an era. And eras do not announce themselves loudly at first, they whisper. If you are hearing the whispers, you are not too late. You're early. This is not speculation, this is pattern recognition. And history has never ignored patterns for long. This is the last signal.